Now, I know it might be hard to believe, and especially with all the narratives out there, but the Lakers have been really good on defense lately, and not only pretty good or really good, but actually like #1 in the entire league. Dating back to January 15th, talking about a 17-game sample here, in which they are 13-4, tied for the best record in the NBA, tied with the Denver Nuggets, who they're actually matching up with tonight, so that'll be a fun matchup. But again, they're the #1 rated defense in that time frame. So narratives aside here, they've been really good on defense with or without Anthony Davis. He only played in about 4 of those games, so no, it's not entirely from him. They've actually improved in some ways on defense without Anthony Davis. No, they're obviously not a better defense without Anthony Davis. That's not true, that's not the case here. But they have shown improvement, whether it's defending the 3-point line, not relying on Anthony Davis to kind of bail them out, and they did plenty of that prior to trading him, and all around showing more defensive commitment. They have been improving on defense and, again, simply showing more commitment to it. And yes, that is what I'm referring to in the video title, talking about their defense. Nobody's really talking about it or will tell you how good they have been on defense, but we're going to talk about it, how they've gone from a pretty mediocre defense, actually about a bottom 5 defense at one point, to now a top 5 defense at the bare minimum. We're going to talk about how they've done it and how they might be able to maintain it. But before we get too far into it, let's go over our game day picks with Underdog Fantasy. And if you're a new sign up, you can pick LeBron to have higher than 0.5 points later tonight. So yeah, take advantage of that free pick. But then for my picks, for pick number 1, I got Jackson Hayes having higher than 7.5 points. Then for my second pick, I got Dorian Finney-Smith having higher than 0.5 assists. That's pretty much a lock for him. He has one pretty much every time he plays with Luka Doncic, so I think he will again tonight. Then for my third pick, I got Jared Vanderbilt having higher than 3.5 rebounds. He's had that in 4 out of their past 5 games now, and we're talking about one of the best rebounders in their team, so I think he can get at least 4. Then for my fourth and final pick, I got Toumani Camara having higher than 1.5 assists. So if you want to follow along with me, or make your own picks, then be sure to check out Underdog Fantasy, and don't forget to use code JSM to get your free pick, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make a deposit. But now getting back to our topic, and like I mentioned before, the Lakers have been really good on defense for the past month, being the #1 rated defense since January 15th, having a 108 defensive rating, 0.2 higher than the second place team, that being the LA Clippers, better than teams like the OKC Thunder, Boston Celtics, and so on and so forth. But then along with that, having a top 8 offense, having a 117.1 offensive rating, being 4th in net rating with a plus 9.1, and all around it become a really well-rounded team, which has surprisingly ran through their defense. And like I referred to before, I think a lot of it really comes down to them over-relying on Anthony Davis and now simply not having that option. Now playing without him, they can no longer funnel guys to the rim at him, hoping that he'll deter the shot, block the shot, contest the shot, whatever it might be, and simply him doing the work for them. But again, now without him, I think they kind of realize they have to commit heavier on defense, play better one-on-one defense, talk more on defense, be more vocal on defense, play better team defense, and that's really come throughout their entire roster. Everyone from LeBron James all the way down to a guy like Jordan Goodwin, they're playing more committed defense and better energy on defense in general as well. Now obviously I think a lot of that coincides with the return of Jared Vanderbilt, simply the energizer bunny for their team and definitely a good guy on defense for their team as well. I think that's part of it, but it's not Vanderbilt alone, not only Dorian Finney-Smith alone, or even a guy like Jordan Goodwin, not the combination of them. Yes, they help, but it's simply more commitment on defense and buying more into that identity. And well, for what they've done good on defense, and a few noteworthy things to point out here. Obviously you've done a lot well on defense if you're the #1 rated defense, but a few things in particular, one of which being opponent points per game, holding their opponent to only 107.2 points per game in that 17-game time frame. That's top 3 in the entire league and very impressive. I mean, if you're holding your opponent under 110 points per game in the modern NBA, there's a pretty good shot you're going to win the game. And then on top of that, holding their opponent to only 43.5% from the field, #1 in the entire NBA. Then combined with an opponent 3-point percentage of only 33.4%, and that really tells you about how well-rounded their defense has been, not only at the rim or only at the 3-point line, but both of them, defending all 3 levels in the court and doing it at an elite level. It's been very impressive and very telling of how good and how locked in they've been on defense. And then on top of that, a factor we often forget to factor in with defense does happen to be rebounding. I mean, you can't get the ball back if you don't rebound the ball and keep your opponent off the glass, which they have finally gotten a whole lot better at doing. Since that January 15th timeframe, they've held their opponent to only 10.3 offensive rebounds per game, 5th in the entire league, along with limiting their opponent to only 40.4 total rebounds per game, number 1 in the entire league, and simply put, that's something they're not doing earlier this season, giving up way too many offensive rebounds, way too many second chance points, and that often made the difference than winning or losing a game, which now they've finally taken the upper hand in. So no matter where you look at, they've been very good on defense and very well rounded on defense, whether you're talking about the point of attack on defense, playing very well from there, defending the 3-point line well, the wing, the mid-range on defense, both very well, or even the paint, blocking shots, defending the rim well, rebounding well, doing pretty much everything well on all 3 levels. But tonight they're going to get a really tough test, like I mentioned, taking on the Denver Nuggets, and they've kind of become a rival for them. Definitely have taken advantage of them in the paint, with that being Nikola Jokic, even more so from the 3-point line. Guys like Michael Porter Jr. have given them absolute hell. That'll be a tough matchup for a guy like Rui Hachimura. Hopefully he can finally take on that matchup well for once, and then even from the mid-range, guys like Jamal Murray have given them hell from that spot, Aaron Gordon cutting back door and Jokic finding him. Definitely tough and probably their toughest test since February 1st taking on the New York Knicks. And then one final part with that is finding their best lineups for not only defense, but a combination of good well-rounded defense and offense, not simply going all in on both, which I think they currently do have a problem with. I mean, looking at their team's starting lineup, I would say that about their offense, going all in on that, and not a whole lot of defense to make up for it. Guys like Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura, and LeBron James are pretty offensive minded. Not a whole lot of defense between them. Yes, they can play better defense than they want to and are not terrible, not liabilities defensively, but not a whole lot of perimeter defense there. I've talked about this plenty, so I won't go too far in depth with it or talk about lineup data, but I for one think they should make the inclusion of a guy like Dorian Finney-Smith, replacing Rui Hachimura. That would be my pick, adding more defense, more switchability on defense, more commitment on defense, overall a better defender, and a guy that wouldn't hurt their offense while doing it, still being a good 3-point shooter, a good high volume 3-point shooter, a good catch and shooter, and that's really what it's about here, balance. I mean, if we're looking for the best defensive lineup possible, then sure, we'd add in guys like Jared Vanderbilt, Gabe Vincent, maybe even Jordan Goodwin, and try to roll with that rather than more offensive or a good blend of both. But again, it comes down to balance here. Gotta do what you can to create the best balance, not only in your team's starting lineup, but then coming off the bench as well. Now obviously 5 guys don't go in and out at one time, you create a balance between them and your rotations at time throughout the game, but gotta find that best balance and try to do what you can to not have all offense or defense at any one point throughout the game. And for their team, that is still currently a work in progress, despite that number 1 rated defense in their past 17 games now. After all, much of that has been without the inclusion of Luka Doncic. They're still trying to get him comfortable, both offensively and defensively, and that is something they have to figure out yet. And with all of that being said here, what do you guys think? How do you feel about the Lakers being the number 1 rated defense in their past 17 games now, despite not getting much credit for it or much talk about it, and more people actually talking about them being a bad defense? But then how do you think they maintain it, or can they maintain it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But I think that'll pretty much do it for this one, and if you enjoyed the video, then I'll greatly appreciate it if you dropped a like, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and hit that notification bell to never miss out when I upload a video. But as always, thank you for watching and have a great day or night.